Fitz of Writing.
Welcome to the Fitz of Writing. It's me, your co-host. I am Aram Johnson. Our guest today breaks the mold a little bit. He is a writer. He has some writing experience, but that's not why we invited him onto the show. We do have some things we want to talk to him about. We're going to stick towards the narrative stuff, but he does have some exciting projects in the works, and we're going to bring that up. Without further ado, I'm going to bring on Eric Staggs. How you doing, Eric?
Hello, I'm doing well, thank you.
It's a little brisk. I know so I'll go ahead and just tell everyone we have tried this once before. I did mistakenly not record it, and Eric was gracious enough to give me a second chance. Thank you, sir. Um, if you don't mind, you want to just tell us how your story starts?
Yeah, I guess I've always been writing, uh, always. Um, in high school, I filled up notebook after notebook after notebook with stories. I think they were very probably at the time very derivative, but I was trying to push myself in different directions. Um, I was taking beings or creatures that are usually villains or monsters and kind of turning them into heroes. At the time, I was kind of obsessed with the concept of anti-hero. And then I went to various schools and got various jobs, and I kept writing the whole time. Um, I've been an electrician. I worked at a flower store. Um, Worked for the mafia for a little bit. Um,
Yeah,
I
you did mention that. Yeah.
Yeah, I worked in advertising. I've been a web animator, web developer. Um, Kind of been all over the board. I worked in insurance. All of that, I've always been writing. A few years ago, I published a role playing game. Again, writing, writing, writing. So
I do want. There's a lot to dive in there. I am going to backpedal this a little bit. You mentioned the mafia, and in your submission to us, you did say you accidentally worked for them for a handful of
7 months.
months, 7 months.
Yeah.
Yes, you have got to explain that.
Yeah. Okay. So, um, there was a business, and in
Yeah,
Lombard,
a
just outside of
business.
Chicago.
Yeah,
Yep.
quotations business.
Yep. And what they did was audio and video editing. They would send out camera crews, and I was trying to make the transition from web development to film, and they were looking to hire somebody who could babysit a couple websites. I can do that, and somebody to be their apprentice Avid editor. So it was a great opportunity. I thought,
Hmm.
well, of course, I can babysit their websites and I can sit with their editor and learn how to use an Avid. They had a big full editing suite with the screens and everything like that.
Oh
It was
wow.
great. I met Dennis DeYoung from Styx or
Hmm.
Rush, one of the two. I don't know. Uh, he was a nice
Yeah,
little guy.
Sean would know that.
Um,
I don't. I'm not a
yeah.
big music guy.
Okay. Yeah. But anyway, the business was a little weird. There was a fellow. His name was Bobby with a very Italian last name, and everyone
Uh,
was a little afraid of Bobby because he just had an anger thing. He would just kind of explode, right?
yeah.
So I stayed out of his way. I kissed his ass and did what I had to do. It was fine. It was actually really a really good gig until one day he says, "I need you to show up early. You're going to leave your car and you're going to drive with me, and we're going to go on and do some things." All right, fine. So the next day I show up, we get in his car, and as we're driving to meet a friend of his who needs some technical support. Now, mind you, I'm not technical support, but Bobby used me in any IT aspect that he could think of, right? Because he wanted to do favors for people. And as we're driving to Rosemont, where the Ticketmaster building is,
Hmm.
and he points out this restaurant. And he's like, "You see that place? Good friends of mine own that place." Breaking no stereotypes. He's got the windbreaker, the plastic windbreaker on, and the gold chain with the cross. Oh, I'm
Jesus.
serious. Yeah. And I was like, "Oh, well, great. I know I have friends who own restaurants too." I didn't think anything of it, right?
Yeah, yeah. Not connecting any dots.
Nope, not at all. And then we drive by an auto dealership sign, Jerry Gleason Ford Lincoln Mercury, and he picks up his car phone. And back then it was a wired car phone, and he calls the dealership, and he says, "Let me talk to Jerry." Now I've purchased two or three new cars in my life, not many, but a couple, and I never go and ask for the owner of the dealership ever. That's just not how life works for me.
Yeah,
But
or any of
for
us
Bobby, it
really.
does. Yeah. Um, so he's like, "No, you tell him. Bobby so and so is calling, and sure enough, they put Jerry Gleason on the phone, and he says, "Yeah, me and the redhead, we need a new car." "No, not that mother car." "Yeah, that's the car." "Well, all right." Hangs up. Nothing is said. Right? I don't say anything. We keep going. We go to this Ticketmaster building outside of Rosemont Arena. I think it's called United Center now, maybe in Chicago, or they changed the name. Doesn't matter. There's a Ticketmaster building that's very subtle and high security.
Mm-hmm.
Bobby takes me in, and there's a camera, and he goes, "Bobby," and then he looks at me and he says, "You were never here." Okay.
Okay.
So the door buzzes, and we open, and there's this long security hallway, glass door at the end, and this little old lady at the end, and she goes, and then we go open the door, and she's still screaming, "Oh my God, it's Bobby!" And she runs out, gives him a big hug, you know. And he says, "All right, we're gonna chat, but this is my man Eric, and he needs to know what's broken." And
Yeah,
she
because
goes, "Oh, it's the printer over there in that room." Of course, right?
mm-hmm.
It's always the printer. So I wander over there. I don't want to be around them. I'm just gonna do my own thing. The sooner I fix the printer, the sooner I'm on to the new task, right?
Yeah.
So I'm upside down, leaning over the desk. And when you do tech support, the first thing you do is you start at the bottom, right? Is it turned on? Is it plugged in? Sure as shit, it's not plugged in. So I reseat. It's like back then when there were the LPT printer ports,
Yeah.
I screwed them in. So I'm upside down. I'm doing that, and I hear some shuffling around me. I lift my head up, and there's these four big guys, all with the plastic windbreaker and the gold chain, right? Bobby's there, and he introduces me to Tony, Joey, Frankie, and Tony.
Of
And they're
course.
all really nice guys.
Yeah.
They all shake my hand. They're real big guys. And he introduced me to them. They said, "This is Eric. He's allowed to move around here." They all, and that was that. Um, the rest of that day went very, very weird. But I know the story's getting too long. So, and it's too late
It's
to make it a
okay.
short story. So,
Yeah.
the next day I show up. Sure enough, he's got a brand new car that has the Jerry Gleason Ford Lincoln Mercury vanity plates around it. Brand new car. Um, and everything was kind of fine for a while. And I just started to pay more attention after that event, right? And I start hearing things like, we knew that McDonald's was going to buy out Boston Market a week ahead of time,
Oh
right? And that
wow.
would have been insider trading, so nobody bought any. But so I'm in the back room one day, and servers again, and I'm kind of leaning upside down, fiddling with the thing, and I stand up, and there's like this uh, phone box where the ISDN lines come in,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a name, and it says Agent Johnson on it, and I kind of peel it off. It's like a label maker, Agent Johnson. So I peel it off. What the fuck is this?
Not my relative.
Yeah. Bobby's standing behind me, and he's like, "Oh, that's just some FBI I had to throw out of here."
Just throwing out the FBI. Yep. Okay.
I've never done that. I didn't know people were allowed to do that, but Bobby does.
Mm-hmm.
So I start to put two and two together, and I realize I need to leave here. And I was lucky enough to have an opportunity to do full-time freelance work. And I told him, I'm like, "Bobby, I'm going full-time freelance work. If you want to contract to me, that's fine. You can. Otherwise, thanks. It's been great." And he said, "Oh, well, we'll talk about that." And I said, "Well, okay. Our hourly is 75 an hour. This was 25 years ago." Um, and he's like, "You're kind of putting the screws to us." And I said, "Well, that's the going rate in Chicago at the time. You're actually kind of getting a deal. Um, I don't know what else to say beyond that." And he never called me back. And then a month later, I get an angry call from Bobby, some last name, and he says, "You need to stay the away from my clients." And he's swearing up a storm, and I'm like, "Okay, I don't want them.
Yeah.
Right? They're low budget, they're small, they're high maintenance. I do not want it." And I said, "We never agreed to a rate." He said, "You've abandoned my clients." I was going to say patients. "You've abandoned my clients intentionally to make me look bad." And I was like, "No, we never agreed on a rate, and I never got a work order. I never got assigned anything, right?"
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and so the conversation devolved rapidly, and it ended with him saying, "You know what? I'm going to come over there with a baseball bat, and I'm going to show you what the rules are."
Oof.
Yeah, and At the time, I was way out in Aurora, and he was in Lombard. So I had a half an hour, 45 minutes before he got there. So I told him, you know what? Just let me know when you're gonna be here. The cops meet you at the door. And that was the last I ever heard from Bobby, some last name.
Some last name. Wow.
Yeah,
That is
yeah.
incredible. That's
I mean,
incredible.
there was a lot of weirdness, and I feel like I just kind of grazed past all the weirdness,
Yeah.
so I lucked out.
You definitely lucked out. You never yeah, I mean, you never know. You never know if someone's connected.
Right,
You don't know if they're just putting on a front.
right.
That could be possible too, but yeah, you don't want to find out. So
Yeah.
yeah, you got lucky. That's pretty crazy. And how does that at that time, where were you in your writing stage? Were you just still
Um,
goofing around, or were you working towards something?
I was writing regularly, but not seriously. I was getting my word count in, my page count in, but I
Hmm.
wasn't working on coalescing it all into a project. So it's like journals and slice of life essays and things like that. Nothing cohesive that
Yeah.
would be marketable, frankly.
And when did you start? Because what you submitted to us was a short story called Space Whales, which I loved. Well, I read the part I read. I love the part I read. I didn't get the full thing, but wink, wink, hint.
Yeah, yeah.
But when did you start working on that?
Oh, well, so Space Whales is an older story. 2002 or three.
Yeah, and I think you
Is
mentioned last time we tried this that it's still getting some responses, a lot of
Oh
feedback.
yeah, yeah.
Very,
People really like it. It's got the right blend of comedy and introspection, I think, as well as kind of absurdist sci-fi.
yeah,
And my philosophy is, especially when you're building world building, ducks can talk as long as they always talk, right? Internal consistency within your environment, and as long as you maintain internal consistency, people will believe it mostly.
yeah. I definitely follow that logic strongly too. Whenever I'm writing, I'm not trying to talk too much about myself or my own stuff, but when I write, I definitely say to myself, we're gonna have some rules. It doesn't matter what those rules are, but we're gonna follow them. And
Yeah.
so
Oh, for
it,
sure.
yeah,
Exactly.
it helps build everything because I mean, it's not just world building. It's a great way for character dynamic. You just go, this character, this person that I've created. He only when he talks, this is how he perceives things, and he won't perceive it any other way, not without some external force. But
Right.
that's just his natural go-to. And so when you start writing, and you're like, well, how would Dominic say this? You already know. You get an instinct
Yep.
for it.
Yep.
So yeah,
For sure.
following your own internal logic, very key. And then, so you write Space Whales. You write a few more things. I believe you have a list of things, small stuff,
Short
short
stories.
stories, some
Yep.
screenplays. One of them's
Yep.
Serpent Rider, I believe.
Yeah. Serpent Rider was a novel I wrote, and it was published briefly,
I thought that was a
but
screenplay.
no, the screenplay was called Perry Riposte,
Oh, okay.
and woman cut me a check for it. I got paid for it, so I was happy about it.
Hey,
At the time, I was a senior in college, and I didn't think much about it. But I mean, she paid my last semester, so what do I care?
yeah, work is work.
Yep.
You know.
Totally. Yeah.
And then that
Uh,
led you into doing Darkest Dungeon, or sorry, that's a different thing. Darkest
yep.
Age.
Yep.
And how did you get from what you were doing into the Darkest Age? I believe you were working with RunesWorks. Is that the name of the company?
Yep. That I incorporated as RuneWorks games. Yeah.
Yeah.
So gaming, tabletop role playing games, for me have always been a narrative exercise. And I try to pick my players. Um, I pick personalities that are adventurous, not very timid, and that are non-competitive. Because I find in that way they make their character and they're willing to try their character's beliefs and existences, reality out in the world I've created. And as I run the game, I allow that game, that world, to be modified by my players. So if one of the players burns down the capital's gone. Next game, capital will be gone.
Yeah.
So again, the internal consistency, um, and the detail to world building. How I moved from uh, screenwriting to creating a role playing game, I'm really not sure. I've always been a gamer. Um, World building is so much fun. And
Hmm.
when you're doing games, there's so much world building, like just
It's too much
everything.
fun. Too much fun.
Yeah, it is. You can go on and on and on and on and on for
Hmm.
sure. Um, and the Darkest Age is a the quickest way to describe it would be to take Game of Thrones and Walking Dead and tape them together. I really kind of like that idea. I like that setting. I love zombie movies. I wrote several essays in college on zombie films, especially 28 Days Later came out
Is
my senior year.
so was this a like was the concept just something from you, or was it like
Yeah, yeah.
uh,
I was just because
a group idea that you kind of put work behind? Or
well, no, I was watching Game of Thrones and I was watching The Walking Dead, and I was like, well, these things are really popular. What if I taped them together? Which is it's crappy, right? Like when you're a film a producer and you're like, well, Ghostbusters 1 was good, Ghostbusters 4 must be great. Eh, eh.
it
But
could
but
be
in this
great.
case, it worked out. Yeah. Um, in this case, I think it worked out. We created a setting where the Black Plague is actually raising zombies instead of just killing people, and that changes everything. So there's a big dynamic, a game dynamic about the infection and
Hmm.
resisting infection. So
And you also worked on the worked on or created completely. I'm not sure, but we'll ask that. The Game Master's Companion
yep,
with the first.
wrote the Game Master's Companion too. Yeah, my wife and I wrote that together.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, her dad is a survivalist, was a survivalist, and so we had
Oh,
survival questions, right? In this hostile environment where animals could be infected, how much protein do you need a day to stay alive? And that's kind of the data we pulled together for the Game Master's Companion, that sort of thing.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, that's incredible. That's probably very different. I would say like when I play tabletop games because I'm a bit of a nerd. Um, my friends and I we always eventually get into some tirade about the survival mechanics and how they don't make sense, or like
Yeah.
how when you're using resources to build things, it's just like, well, this is more of a video game argument, but it's like you'll take one ingot and you'll get two screws out of that, and it's like, do you know how many screws you can get from a single ingot?
Right. Or
But
even vice versa, you'll get one ingot and get a suit of armor.
yeah, yeah, that
I,
doesn't make any sense.
maybe, but it feels like there should be more of the metal used. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Um, and now you are currently working on a second edition.
Yep, an updated version. There was a game released about 2 years ago called Borg. Wildly popular, super brilliant. Um, Minimized rolls. Your target number is 12. Your modifiers are 1 to 3, and that's the game.
Oh
And
wow.
I thought, yeah. And I thought, this works so well. Why don't we adapt this to our old setting? So that's what we've been working on now. So the new Darkest Age, second edition, or Borg edition, as we're calling it. Um, yeah, it uses the Borg rules, all of it plopped into our setting. All the new character class, or the pre-existing character classes, have been tweaked for Borg. So we're in good shape. I'm very proud of it.
So, if you don't mind me asking, how popular was the first game?
Okay, so here's the thing. I'll be super honest. When I marketed the game, it sold. When I could sit down and spend time creating social posts and blasts and bulk emails and all of the works, it sold. When I don't market it, it doesn't sell at all.
Yeah, that's the engine behind it. But
Yeah, for sure.
you found success when you were applying marketing to it.
Yeah, yeah, it's an Electrum bestseller on Drive Through RPG, which is pretty good.
And
We had to sell at least 1,000 copies.
what do you feel like was like the selling point for a lot of people, or the buying point, I should say? Was it just that it was something different, or
We got a huge surge in sales around COVID.
oh well, that makes a
We'll leave it
lot
at that.
that makes a lot of sense. And
Yeah.
so, with your new edition here, what like besides the ones you mentioned, what major changes do you feel like are influencing a second edition? I know when we talked last that you were saying that you're kind of leaning more towards storytelling, more towards narrative elements. What's this game going to provide in regards to that, as far as for DMs and players?
Well, So the rule set we're using, which is the Mork Borg open source rules. So I want to make sure that they get credit for them. They're great people, but we're using their rules legally and you know as allowed. These rules are so beautiful. They're elegant. They're completely stripped down, and all of the I guess narrative or role playing elements are completely up to you as a character. DM doesn't have to roll, like for example, maybe this is too detailed, but second edition D&D you rolled for reactions.
Hmm.
We don't have anything like that. There's all kinds of superfluous charts in these original or any role playing game, frankly. Um, our superfluous charts are exactly that, completely optional and superfluous. The game runs fine without any of the charts. So we've stripped the rules away and left it completely open to interpretation. The only thing that really we have rules for is magic, and magic is very minimal. Um, because that's always been a storytelling issue for me when I'm writing fantasy. How far does magic go?
Yeah.
Right? What's the stopping point? What can I do with magic and what can I not do? So in this game, we took away a lot of the magic, and then just combat and crits.
Mm.
That's the
Those are.
only thing we're rolling for. Everything else is your wits and and your mouth.
Oh wow. So it's like if you really want to convince, we'll just say like a town's guard or something like that. I'm not sure
Yep.
what elements are in your game, but yeah, if you want to convince somebody of something, you have to convince the DM or GM.
I think so. I think so. Yeah.
I do like that. Me and my friend actually play similarly, even though when we're playing by fifth edition rules, he and I we just go through it. We just feel it out. Like, am I saying
Yeah.
something that's convincing? If not,
Yep.
like he's not making me roll. He's not asking me nothing. We're
Yep.
just shooting from the hip. And I will say, it is as a player, it is a very empowering effect. It can be very limiting if you don't yourself feel charismatic.
Yeah.
But
And
if
it's
you,
intimidating for new players too.
yeah, it is very intimidating. But it can also create some real tension because you don't feel like you're in a game anymore. You feel like I have to convince you of something.
Yeah. Absolutely. Right.
Yeah,
And
and
it's not that you want tension at your game table, but a little emotion is okay. You know.
yeah. And
Yeah.
have you is there any criticisms you've heard in regards to the first game that you're trying to address in the second?
Well, yeah, actually. So one of the things that we did in the first game was try to give women a more, or let me say this, a less medieval role, because I think nowadays gamers are all genders, right? Everything.
Hmm.
So why would I want to play a medieval simulation where the gender I choose is going to be, crapped on? Nobody wants to play that, right?
Yeah, well,
So
not because of gender. Yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
but
we all have to be peasants at some point.
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Um, so what we tried to do is create a strong social network, community, I guess, of female knights, women knights who realized that hey, it's their responsibility to help protect against the chaos and the zombies. Basically, we made childbirth like almost religious, a religious experience, pretty much. Um, and like even on the cover, I don't know if you can see this, but the one of the characters here is hiding a baby from the zombies. Well, we got a lot of feedback about that. Um, I actually had one fellow say to me, "Okay, so your shtick is women?" And I said, "No, our shtick is zombies. We're we're just trying to open things up a little
Yeah,
bit,
yeah.
right?"
I mean, yeah, she
Um,
like the shield maidens of Norse,
yep,
culture. Yeah,
that was exactly our inspiration. Yep, exactly that.
100%.
In the original game, some of the old religions are coming back, so there's a heavy Viking influence.
Oh, I
Um,
love that.
in Yeah, yeah, it's cool. In the new game, it's very medieval, close to Renaissance kind of a thing. So we've pushed ahead in time a little bit and then stretched it out.
And so, does the game is the game very stringent on its time frame, or is it kind of like fifth edition, where it's just like we have like a base concept
Yep,
of what we're trying to do in the universe, but you can create any world from this stuff.
yep, exactly. Yep. We have a little disclaimer in there that says, dear players, we understand that the plague was in, the 1300s, but there were other plagues.
Yeah.
And so maybe this is a lesser plague you're dealing with, or a greater plague, or a fictional plague. So we just encourage players to take the setting and then just go crazy with it.
And do you have any world building tools in the player's handbook or the DM's
Well,
handbook?
yeah, so it's a core rule book is what we're calling it, and I do have some DM tools, encounters. Um, I have something I'm very proud of, a random location generator,
Mm.
and it's based on um, the names of things, right? So like you roll your first column, and it'll be Griffins, and then the second column will be Meadow, Griffin's Meadow, and then the third column will be what's going on in Griffin's Meadow.
Oh,
And I've got and it actually works out. It works out really well. So you get a ton of rando generated environments that way.
well, that kind of leads me into I feel like we'll just open it up here. That does kind of lead me into a question in regards to just your general concept of creation, like when it comes to naming things. Like I know a lot of writers, especially in the fantasy um, genre, really like to try to capture the essence of Tolkien, and they have just some weird names that they love to throw out there that are unpronounceable.
Yeah.
Where do you land on that?
Uh so it's interesting. When I was in film school, they said do not name characters the same. You cannot have a Jake and a Joe
Yeah.
because your audience will get confused. In that hour and a half where people are moving around and there's colors and lights and whatever, people will get the characters confused.
Hmm.
However, it occurred to me that two characters from a similar culture, from the same culture, would probably have similar names, right?
Hmm.
Um, a good example would be Norway. There's a lot of Norwegian names that, Sven, Lars, okay, those are all kind of consistent in that area. Um, when I name things, unless it's something that's going to be around for a long, long time, I just try to give it a very natural kind of sounding name. You know, um, in the new piece, I'm working on a science fiction piece now, and one of my main characters is Isabella Bosk, and I just love that name. I think
Yeah,
it's a great name.
I like that. It
She,
has a bounciness to it.
yeah, and she grows to become quite a successful pirate, space pirate, right? So she's got a good name. I thought about it for a long time, and she's going to stay around. Another character is I think Simon is his first name. We're not sure about the first name yet, but his last name is Petrichor, which is the smell of rain, right? The smell after rain.
Yeah.
But Petrichor sounds like a good name
Hmm.
for an ad. Petrichor, fine, done.
Yeah,
Um,
I've definitely like I kind of bounce between a lot of things. When it's naming people, it's different. When I'm naming places, I definitely like I don't know what it is. A part of me just wants to relive D&D, I guess, so much that I just love the way D&D names a lot of things. You know, it's the simple. They have some like mellow. What is it? Mellow Banzan. Um,
Menzo Baranzan.
yeah, thank you, Menzo Baranzan. Um, that's a difficult one, but they also have
That's a
like
hard one.
the Witch's Wood. You know, the
Yep,
Dark Forest,
yep, Dark Forest,
the
exactly.
Creeping
And I,
Sea.
I kind of love that stuff too, right?
Yeah.
Um, I actually use a map of Wisconsin when I'm looking for weird names because in all of the back roads and all the weirdness, you find like there's a place called Ixonia,
Okay.
Xonia, right? That's a great name,
Yeah.
Ixonia. There's
Sounds
all
like it
kinds of
belongs in a core rule book.
yeah, for sure. And then like when you go out further, there's like near Minocqua, there's like Spider Forest and Spider Lake. Writes itself.
Yeah.
You
That's
know,
awesome. That's
clearly I'm
awesome.
not stopping there, but so I use Wisconsin maps a lot too.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So do you have any favorite campaign stories or things you want to kind of?
Oh, geez, yeah, I've got a couple good ones. I had a buddy I played Cyberpunk with, which is sci-fi,
Yeah, yeah.
Cyberpunk 2020 back then, and this would have been 1998, something like that. And he was rolling really hot, right? He had done everything wrong. He had alienated himself with the other characters, right? So they didn't even want to hang out with him. He had isolated himself physically. They made their escape and they got into a gunfight in a parking garage, and he decides he's going to take the elevator out, and he's running out of ammunition, and he should have died like 19 times, and he's down to like a knife and bloody knuckles, and we think he's going to make it through. He finally gets in the elevator and he has an option, and the option is jump out, hit the button, and survive, or ride your luck and stay there and try to take these two FBI
Excuse me.
agents in a closed area, right? Well, he tries to battle the NPCs and it does not work. He dies. But he was just rolling so hot for like an hour. It was all on him because everything was moving really fast. Headshot, 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 crit, crit, crit. It was just crazy. And he just pushed his luck.
Yeah, the well ran dry.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That happens. Uh, so I do want to talk a little bit. Again, this is just open discussion. I do want to talk about your neurodiversity. And like shared with you before, my daughter is autistic and she has ADHD, and I'm currently trying to get her into getting her into D&D. She loves D&D. I don't know if she loves it because I love it, but she's 100% into it. She's constantly flipping through my monsters manual and just
That's cool.
yeah, she's asking me questions. Or anytime a new monster that she sees, like on a show or whatever, she's like, "Dad, is that in D&D?" I go, "I could be.
Yeah.
We can
These
make
days,
it."
probably. Yeah,
So, as a person who is neurodiverse, I was just wondering if you could share with our audience about like kind of the struggles you have with writing and how you will overcome those. Maybe
sure.
some aspects of how you feel like it actually helps.
Yeah. Okay. So I have been diagnosed with autism level 1, ASL 1, and I have been diagnosed with ADHD as well. Um, the ADHD is just brutal when it comes to like focusing and getting things done. I feel that we're capable of a hyper focus, but seldom does that hyper focus translate into a paycheck, right? And if I could turn that hyper focus towards my writing, production would increase, right? When production increases, when there's finished products, then you can sell them, right?
Yeah.
Um, so about every hour and a half, I am unable to keep writing. I have to stand up and do something else, right? I've realized that just simple stretches or breathing exercises will kind of like calm things down, and then I can come back to it. Excuse me. Honestly, a Jolly Rancher or like a Zot, something that floods you with sensation, stops what's happening in here. You cannot be freaking out about two things at once. So if it's just spinning in here really bad, I will have a Jolly Rancher and just sit and breathe for a little while, and then I'm able to come back to it. I also hold myself to a word count every day. My goal is 1,000 words every day. It doesn't always happen. Lately, it hasn't happened. But that's the goal, and that's what I aim for every day. If I'm at 900 words, I can sit down for 100 words. That's easy, right? And the more words you get on there, 30 words. Okay, so I need 970. Okay, and you just keep counting. Take a break at 500. Come back as long as you get your 1,000 words in, and the easier, or it becomes easier as you climb, as you're writing down the page and your word count climbs. It becomes easier and easier to finish it up.
And is there any aspect of your neurodiversity that you feel like kind of amplifies your creativity, or like maybe you just see things a little bit differently when you're creating?
Well, yeah, I think so, but I don't have a lot of data or science to back that up. I see things differently. I think a lot of neurodivergent people do. Um, oh, like with the autism, a lot of times I'll be speaking and I'm like very direct,
Mhm.
and people will get upset. Why are you being so bossy? Well, it's not that I'm being bossy, it's that I'm just trying to get information. I need information to pass faster,
Yeah.
right? So it can, all of it can definitely hinder. Um, does it help the creativity? I think so. I think if you looked at some of the most creative people in the world and were able to get a good psyche val on them, you'd find all kinds of fun stuff.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, for sure.
So, if you don't mind, I would love to share a story because it just happened 2 days ago. Like I said, I'm trying to get my daughter into D&D. We've tried a few games. Those sessions kind of are difficult for her. I think it's the length.
Yeah,
Um,
for
and
sure.
so I do feel like I lose her. So we kind of pivoted from that. She also, because she loves animals and monsters and stuff like that, we moved from D&D to another game called Animal Adventures.
I have it.
Yeah,
Got it for my daughter.
yeah. It's a if it for anyone that doesn't know what we're talking about, it's a D&D kind of game. It uses the 5e settings rules, and it's just your heroes are animals, and basically everything's animals. But
Yeah.
my daughter and her mom and I, we were playing the other night, and we've been doing this campaign where it's just like we go into scenes, and then that's it. Like we're one scene tonight, next scene tomorrow,
Yep.
and we were working through the starter kit of this game,
Mhm.
which is you're fighting this guy named Dr. Krankenstein, and they're trying to work their way in there, and they are battling through this house, and I'm kind of like dropping in extra health here and there because they are
Oh,
getting decimated.
okay.
And so I was like, well, I just kind of want to let them experience the game. I'm not trying to be that DM yet.
Yeah.
Um, and they get to that final battle, and it's just the two of them. And I have made a critical mistake of kind of not reducing the numbers in the room, and they get overwhelmed really quick. Her mom goes down, and
Uh-oh.
I turn to her and I go, so what do you want to do? And she's like, Chantilly, my character, runs out of the room and just splits.
Yep.
And I was like, you're just gonna leave her there? She's like, yep. And she's like, I'm done. And I go, okay, that's our campaign. You Chantilly, left Brianna to die or to become, part of well, what I'm gonna do is as we continue, I'm gonna take the character that died and I make it
Yep.
into a boss.
Oh yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
And I think that'll get a kick out of her. But yeah, I just found that so hilarious. Her mom was just giving her dead eye the whole time. And I was dying
Yep.
laughing. Um
That's funny. Well, and like I've had a similar experience where a player just bails on us, and you're like,
but it is the logical choice. I can't I
yeah,
can't
yeah,
I can't shame her for that.
yeah. No, I'm not gonna stand there and die fighting 8 trolls. You're dead.
Yeah.
I'm out.
It's just you and your friend is dead, you
Yeah.
better get out of there.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a funny moment. I did want to talk to you, just get your kind of brief summation of like what kind of things inspire you when you're creating, or when you're just kind of out and about, and then you watch something, you see something, you witness something, and then that kind of triggers something. What are those kind of elements? What are those sources of inspiration for you?
That's a good question. Well, I'm very much into science. I like science a lot. Um, I like history a lot. I find that I'm very interested in physics and chemistry and sociology and all of this stuff. And just learning little bits about how civilization works or doesn't work is inspirational. Learning little bits about how the physical universe works is very inspirational. I read articles about quantum physics all the time. I don't understand them, but sounds like there's a lot going on.
Yeah, sounds like they know what they're talking
Yeah,
about.
sounds like there's a lot going on, right? And I find that very interesting. Deep space astronomy is always very interesting. A good sci-fi movie will just spiral off in my head. Um, I, it's hard to say. The gentleman who made Elder Scrolls, the video game, he died the other day. He had terminal cancer. It was like last week or the week before.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
That gave me like 15 great ideas.
Yeah, it is a very in-depth game.
His death actually is what gave me ideas.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, and I'm waiting. I don't know if it's appropriate to write about him. I don't want to be inappropriate, but I started to think about, okay, so he knows he's dying. What if he called his buddy, the co-developer of the video game, and said, "This is it for me"? And his buddy said, "Well, not necessarily."
Ooh,
Right? And then
intrigue.
maybe he becomes not an NPC, but a moving, roving live character in an MMORPG. And then things happen
Well,
from
are you
there,
are
right?
you thinking of just like general science fiction? Or are you thinking like
Yeah.
going a horror slant? To like, are we doing a lawnmower man situation
Okay. So I would think it's a little more Lawnmower Man than anything else.
hmm
But uh
where he's like
science,
punishing people that aren't playing the game right?
well, a little bit. Also, so yeah, I was thinking he'd have this obsession with the game, but because he's trapped in there, he meets other players and then tries to convince them that he is actually a real person.
Mm.
And that's the climax and falling act and all that stuff. Anyway, oh geez, what was I gonna say? Well, it's gone.
It happens.
Yeah.
ADHD.
Yep.
Yep. Wow. And so moving from the fantasy talk into the sci-fi. Last time we attempted this, the first time, You did mention that you do have a sci-fi setting in the work
Yep,
regarding to your tabletop game,
yep,
and you are also working on a companion novel to go with that. You
that's
want to talk
correct.
about that a little bit?
Sure, yeah. Okay, so it's called Photon Road, and the players will play uh, basically corporate serfs who live in a populated solar system. Um, but you work for a corporation, right? And it's always about your contract and how much money you have and your credit score. And I brought some of those elements in. So rather than players having to carry around money and saying, "Oh, well, I'm just going to erase my million and whatever," they have a credit rating and they just roll on their credit score, basically. And it's assumed that money's coming in and money's going out. So as long as they can make their credit roll, everything's managed. Something
Hmm.
one less thing for players to have to track, right?
That is an
Um,
interesting concept. I'll give you that.
yeah, I think it's kind of cool. I
Yeah.
want to see how it plays out. But anyway, so they're space pirates. They work for these corporations. And corporations give them a letter of marque, which is an old term for a ship that was allowed to be a pirate legally. To be a pirate, you get a letter of marque that says you can sink any Spanish galleon you want.
Hmm.
So players have a ship and they have a letter of marque, and good luck, try to survive, right? But as you travel out further in space, there's issues like time dilation and other ships moving faster, and it's quite possible to be in hypersleep and get to a planet, wake up, and somebody has passed you while you're asleep because their ship was made 5 years after yours and travels faster. So they're there before you. You're going to colonize that planet. They've already colonized it and put up a flag. So you have to go home now or find somewhere else. There's all kinds of traumas that can happen out in space, right? As well, who's enforcing the law,
Yeah. I do feel
right?
like there's a lot of room, based on what you described, for a lot of like Star Trek level hijinks to happen.
Yeah. My technology level, however, I'm limiting. I have a note in there. Game masters can of course create the or increase the technology level however they feel appropriate, but
Hmm.
I would keep it under faster than light speed.
Oh, okay.
So if people are going far, they have to go into hibernation, something like that, right?
Yeah.
Because once you have faster than light speed, everything gets a little wonky. It's just kind of hard to track time dilation, and then your players fly out, they come back, and 1,000 years have passed, and their contract is. It just gets harder,
Yeah,
you
and
know.
you can treat that hypersleep as kind of like a long rest in D&D
Yep.
settings,
Absolutely.
for the people that know.
Scene end or campaign end. Yeah, totally. Quest
Yeah.
end.
Yeah,
Yeah,
or just like, all right, and you guys are done for the night. You guys settle in for hypersleep, and then when you pick up, you find out what happened during your
yeah,
hypersleep.
yeah,
That's
for
good.
sure.
Good pacing.
Yeah,
Uh, when can we expect? I know that is off.
that's
Um,
off for a while. Yeah,
when can we expect second edition of the Darkest Age?
hopefully by Halloween.
Hopefully by Halloween. All right,
Yeah,
you guys
I,
heard
I
it.
I've
I
got about 6 pages left to lay out, and then it'll go up to the printer for proofing, and that'll probably be 2 rounds of proofing, and it's 2 weeks to 2.5 per proof. So Halloween will be tight, but that's what my goal is.
All right, Halloween. Okay.
Yeah,
If not, just around that general time frame.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And we
All right.
always see a rise in sales in our zombie game around Halloween.
Well, that's true too. Yeah, would be the time of year. Well, I want to thank you for coming on. This was a great conversation. I do want to read more of Space Whales. I do want to pick up The Darkest Age. I just have to find. I don't think my daughter or mom are ready for that.
Yeah, it's not for kids, no,
Yeah,
but
so
yeah,
I do want to. I got to find a group to play that with. I want to let everyone know that you can find Eric at ericstaggs.substack.com. He does have a website, www.somenewlanguages, or just language,
like just one language. Yep, some new language.
somenewlanguage.com. I want to let everyone know that on the Fitz of Writing Facebook page, we are doing writing prompts every Tuesday. We call them Telletales. It is something that I did on my own page and I brought over to the Fits of Writing. I encourage everyone to check them out, to participate. I think it's a great exercise. I love to see what other people write. The idea, concept, if you guys don't know, is I find an image online anywhere. I look at it. I derive a story from it. I see a character, I see a place, I see a setting. I create a little story. It doesn't have to be anything long. I've done poetry based off of these images. I've done little dialogue back and forths because that's what I'm seeing. And I love to encourage people to do the same. I think it helps with creative initiative in your own brain. But
Yeah.
it's just good to kind of practice, get some of the rust off, give you something else to work on that takes 5 minutes at most. So I do encourage everyone to check that out. We release them every Tuesday. I've also been adding some audio to it that gets released later in the day on the same day. Um, Please like, comment, and subscribe. Check out Eric Staggs. I'm excited to see what else he's got going on. Let's fade to black.